I'm going to really structure my talk in three areas, really. Talk a tiny bit about my unusual beginning, then talk a bit about what I do now. But I really want to focus the main part of my talk on what I've learned from my journey so far, which is about 50 years and a bit. And I've kind of entitled that bit "Making a Difference." So, starting at the beginning, unusual beginning. I'm not going to say loads about this, except that I suppose the key thing for me is I was born in '68. I was named after Robert Kennedy because it was the year he was assassinated, and my mom was actually an au pair in America a few years previously. So that's where the name Robert came from. I suppose the unusual bit was that whilst I was brought up with my mom, who was my birth mom, and also with three of my sisters, I didn't meet my birth father too much later on in life. So I was brought up with my mom and her husband and my dad and three sisters, all white. And I only went to Nigeria in 2003 to go and meet my birth father, and that kind of really shaped me and had a massive influence on me. And going there was really like finding the whole of myself. And from that point onwards, because of all the help that was given me in doing that, and because of the way I felt, I really wanted in life from then on, what I really wanted to do most, I realized, was to really try and make a difference. So to leave the world a better place than maybe I find it in whatever way I could. And that's kind of one of my hallmarks of whether I'm being successful or not. And I want to make sure that there's some evidence around that as well, and that if I can make a difference, that is really what my kind of work, or I suppose legacy, is about. There is actually more information about my journey, about the finding father journey, and all the siblings I have now, which are quite a few, and I'm quite close to, as well as my three sisters on the English side. I have a number of mixed race and fully Nigerian brothers and sisters as well. So that journey is kind of detailed in a number of articles, and I'll send Charlie the links after this talk, and he can send those links out to people for those that are interested. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Bit of an unusual beginning. How did it affect me at your age? Well, I guess I didn't really have as much confidence as maybe some people had, and finding myself helped me kind of grasp that confidence. But during that time, I also had marriage, I had children, I had a whole lot of other experience. But I don't actually think when I was 16, 17, I don't necessarily think that we were always given all the encouragement that we could have been given to really try and fulfill our potential. And I think that is partially based on, people in my class, we were very intelligent, but we weren't necessarily all coming from very middle class and affluent backgrounds. I think being mixed race in the class as well, I think maybe at the time, maybe some teachers didn't expect as much from me as maybe what might have been expected. And initially, I didn't think I was even up to going to university, and I did get there in the end, but it's a different story. But I think those sort of things, those experiences, those key moments in our lives, they shape us. We know from listening to people's narratives that those things shape us, and those things are a key part of us. And it's recognizing that those things shape us for good, or can sometimes have a negative effect on us. That is really important. So what do I do now? Well, now I'm a consultant. I work with a number of organizations. I teach, I facilitate, and my real focus is on leadership development, collaboration, and innovation. So One of the core areas of my work, though, is called place-based leadership development. And what I do is I work with groups of leaders in different localities, and I help them to work together to address the issues that they're facing, while at the same time helping them develop and grow as leaders, and also help them work more effectively together. So at the moment, I'm involved in a number of programs in that regard. One of them is in two places in Kenya called Nakuru and Naivasha. And now I work with a Danish non-governmental organisation called Dignity, the Danish Institute Against Torture, and the Mid-Rift Human Rights Network in Kenya, where we work with groups of leaders and we get them to, we help them collaborate more effectively. Now, there's lots of resources out there on that. I've sent a couple of links to, again, to Charlie about those. But really what my work is about making a difference, measuring that impact, and helping other people really change create safer communities where they live through developing them as leaders and helping them develop other people. And what we're doing at the moment is designing a facilitators program, so that rather than me just going to Kenya and do that local leaders who have been through the leadership development program, the place-based leadership development program, they can also become facilitators and also enact change and transformation in their own communities with the people that they work with. So that's enough about what I do now. What have I learned from my journey so far is the main point about this talk, and that's, I guess, what I really want to get across. I think there are three things that I want to talk about. One is mindset, one is you as your greatest resource, and the other one is that if you really want to innovate, you have to learn to collaborate. So the first one, what do I mean by a growth mindset? Growth mindset is about having an attitude or having a way of thinking where you're open to making errors because you think you can learn from them. And also, you're not fixed in thinking that actually I'm only good at some things. People with a growth mindset embrace challenges, embrace change. The term was first coined and developed by a psychologist called Caroline Dweck. And I've shared a link with Charlie on a 6-minute animated video clip that you can look at, which fully explains what's the difference between a growth and a fixed mindset. But basically, a growth mindset, with a growth mindset, you have the idea or the thinking that our capacity to learn is elastic. We can learn new things all the time. A fixed mindset would say, I'm good at some things, but I'm not so good at others. And what you might do with a fixed mindset is you might actually tend to just go for things that you already know, do things that you already know, not try out new things. And as you're not trying out new things, you're not opening yourself up to the possibility of learning new things, of grasping new opportunities. It's about confidence as well, but I think the growth mindset is really key. The thing about the growth mindset, though, is that for some things in life, we will have a growth mindset, and for other things, we'll have a fixed mindset. It's more about having the awareness of that. And we're not, even myself, I don't have a growth mindset about everything. I have a growth mindset maybe on some things, I might have a fixed mindset on other things, but I'm aware that I can be challenged and open to challenge where my thinking might be being a bit more fixed because I want to go down this one route. When actually, if I open up, the other people's perspectives might be just as important. And if you have more of an open mindset, a growth mindset, you're more likely to go down that road. You're more likely to think that actually there are other perspectives I can learn from. There are, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm not necessarily that good at psychology today, but I will be at some point. Maybe I'm not great at football now, but in a year's time, if I keep on practicing, who knows where I could be. And what further research has shown, and I'll send Charlie a link to this article I'm referring to, is that actually, if you have a more open mind, a more growth mindset, if you want to develop a more open mind, it's really about being open to new education, new events, and new experiences. So trying things out, even if you don't necessarily think you're going to be instantly good at them. Trying things out, travel, okay? Traveling and going to new places, that also opens your mind and makes you have more of an open mind, which I link to more of a growth mindset. And I think if you can develop that, you may be more likely to be able to identify what you're passionate about. What are you passionate about in life? So I'm passionate in life about making a difference. If you are more passionate, if you can actually work with what you're more passionate about, you're more likely to probably fulfill your potential in that area. Of course, you'll make mistakes along the way, but we should see failure as an opportunity for learning, not about making mistakes for the sake of making mistakes. It's not whether I make mistakes, it's whether I learn from them. And then also, I think if you have passion, then it's more likely that when you do hit difficult times, you're going to be more resilient. So my daughter Louise, she works in the arts, and obviously that's a very difficult area to be working in, especially at the moment. But I think she is sustained by her resilience in that area because she's passionate about what she does. Now, the second thing I'd like to talk about is you. You are your greatest resource. What do I mean by you are your greatest resource? I mean that over the years, I have found that actually one of the key things I need to do more is to actually listen to myself about where I need to go and what I need to do. So a key example of this was when I started doing my PhD a long time ago. I started doing it on organizational performance and diversity, and I did that for two and a half years part-time, and it was going really well. But there was a nagging doubt in my head saying, I want to do something different. I want to really make a difference. I want to do something else. This is not really fulfilling me. And I started my PhD all over again. And look where I am now. Now, if I hadn't listened to myself, I would have carried on doing that PhD, the other route on diversity. I probably would have still finished it, but it probably wouldn't have really made that much of a difference. Whereas I feel the work I'm doing linked to my PhD makes a massive difference. And that means I took the path taken by fewer people. There aren't so many mixed race people involved in leadership development or involved in innovation as you would think. And I think that's not an area, but I think it's important that you go down the area that you're passionate about. I think it's really important that if you take the path less taken, if you're listening to yourself, it's really important. You need, and as part of that, you need to develop yourself and grow yourself. If you want to become an effective leader in society, lead yourself first. Understand yourself. Develop your self-awareness. Develop your emotional intelligence. Listen to feedback. Work on that feedback. Improve. Educate yourself, not just in the formal sense, but go out and embrace the world and try new experiences, try new different things. The third thing I want to talk about is that if you want to innovate, you need to learn to collaborate. Now, true collaboration is actually quite hard. I know this from experience. It's quite hard because we are all different. We have different views, different experiences, different ways of seeing things, different ways of being. But actually, it's that conflict, it's that different that sparks innovation. That means we create something different, which is essentially what I do in Kenya, in Guatemala, and elsewhere, on the work that I'm doing with leaders from different sectors. And really, if you want to really innovate, you need to learn to work with difference and be comfortable with working with that difference and be open. This goes back to having an open mindset or an open-minded or growth mindset. Be open to listening to other people. One of the key things that really good leaders do if they want to innovate is they're very good at communicating. But I always say to people, one of the things you need to do is seek to understand, then be understood. What does this mean? It means I really need to learn to give people the time and listen and not always just jump in with my perspectives. Effective leaders are good communicators, but good communicators are first and foremost good listening. And listening is one of the least used and practiced and even understood competencies in leadership. So I think it's really important that we do that. The secret to effective communication is listening and also questioning, asking really good questions if you don't understand. Stay curious, stay open-minded, no matter what age you get, no matter how old you get. If you stay curious, you keep learning. As somebody said really famously, and it's just below my computer screen here. I've got a little quote which says, "I am still learning." That's really important. That's really important for me to realize. The other thing to think about as well is, how do you want to be? Do you want to be a commander, telling people what to do all the time? Do you want to be a connector, bringing different people together and be an enabler, so enabling other people, working with and through other people? Or do you just want to tell people what to do? Effective leaders are able to work with and through other people. It's not always about being in charge. It's about enabling other people to reach their full potential as well. And then the final thing I'd like to say is that what we really need to do when we collaborate, if we want to innovate, is we also need to understand what we're trying to achieve. We need to understand what our common purpose is. And we only get to common purpose through discussion and everybody getting round the table, having their voice heard. And what we need to do when we do work together is we need to make sure we're checking back every so often to say, are we agreed what we're trying to achieve here? Now, this kind of discussion takes longer. It takes harder work. It takes more listening. It takes more being open to different perspectives. This takes time, but at the end of the day, it's only by building common purpose and being open and listening to other people's perspectives and hearing other voices and making sure everybody's voice is heard. It's only that way that we develop trust. And that's probably my final message to you. You develop trust not by what you say, but by what you do and how you do it. So sometimes it's not just what you do, but it's often how you are with people that you will create the trust that's needed to develop common purpose through effective communication, listening, questioning, and that's how you will create innovative approaches to new ways of doing things and saying things. I'm not going to say trust me. What I'm going to say is look at some of the things out there. Look at where people have created a collective impact in society. Look at how they've worked together. It's about working with and through people, and it's about developing a clear common purpose. Certainly from my experience, those are the things that speak to me. Thanks for listening. I hope that you can take some things away from there, and I'll just leave some time now for any questions, and I hope I kept to time. Thanks.
It's brilliant. Thank you very much. So if people want to develop themselves as a leader, where do you think they could start?
I think they start by developing quite a higher level of their own self-awareness of what their strengths and what their weaknesses are, and also asking and welcoming feedback from people. I think for me, some of the mistakes I've made as a leader probably earlier on in my career was because maybe I also didn't have a good mentor. I aspired to be people that I don't think were really leaders. They were probably commanders. They were good at telling people what to do, but weren't very good at being an effective listener. And I think listening as well is something that I've had to work on over the years and to get better at. And I think becoming a good leader is about opening up yourself to new experiences, but also developing yourself and developing a high level of self-awareness of how you are, how you come across, and how you can improve. Being open to working. And also, I think it's about embracing new experiences.
Brilliant, thank you. And then last one, what would you say would be the most important quality in a leader, or one that people should seek to develop?
I probably think there's two. I think one is having a clear narrative. What are you about? If I'm going to be part of your team, what is it I can expect from you, and what do you expect from me? How do you see your leadership of the team or of the organisation? How are you with people? I think that's one thing. And then I think the second thing is that thing about listening, because I think with listening comes humility. And I think those people who are more humble can say things like, I could be wrong, but this might be a way forward. But I'm open to different suggestions. And I think that thing about not just jumping in with your own opinions or your own perspective, but actually asking and inviting other perspectives is really important. I think that takes practice, it takes confidence, but I think it starts with really getting to understand yourself, understand what makes you tick, understand what's important to you, understand what your passion is.
That's brilliant, thank you. And I think that draws us to a close. Thank you so much for speaking. And thank you for everyone who's watched. Of course, check our website for the latest talks, and you can follow our social media as well. Thank you very much.